We are now live on In Touch News. We are live streaming via Zoom and as well live on Facebook. So if you guys will tag your peeps and please to our Facebook audience and to our YouTubers, please make sure that you share this broadcast as well because I have two phenomenal experts in the house. Literally in the house. It's a new day in the neighborhood. Starting with Diva J. Congratulations on what I believe was an amazing podcast, Dine and Dash.
Thank you.
Where to find you?
Thank you. I was excited to debut Dine and Dash yesterday. It's a web series that I will be broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube.
As Diva J is talking, we can hear our amazing music coming in. And so that would be, let's see, to our Facebook family, our In Touch Studio. It's called testing everything.
well,
all right, go ahead, Diva J.
Okay, so yesterday evening, I launched Dine and Dash, which is a web series that I will now be doing every Tuesday at 7 o'clock. It's hosted by me. It's produced by me and my company from the top to the bottom. So thank you for tuning in. You know, we really have tried to use all of our skill sets to make what you see. So it looked really good, but on the back end, there was a lot of moving pieces. And that's just the reality that we live in right now. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about what that means and looks like for businesses. But yeah, but that platform is a platform that I've just created because now more than ever before, I think if you have a platform and the ability to get your message out there, this is the time. So I have to lead by example. I have to not just talk the talk, but also walk the walk. And so Dine and Dash is me accepting the challenge to do so.
And you also have to let our audience know, when we as entrepreneurs accept a challenge, that means you got to go all the way to the end.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you have to.
Fight syndrome. You're in it.
And you know, the good thing though about what's happening right now as we're all trying to use technology to the best of our abilities is that there's forgiveness, right? We know even now in today's broadcast, being live, like you said, we're at home. So we're doing the best we can to continue to push our messages forward and build our brands. And that's why also now more than ever before, it takes collaboration. I'm excited for our guest today. Because it takes collaboration to really make all of this happen.
It does, and it takes a lot. It takes all of us. It goes back to the village, even virtually. Now you all make up the virtual village, and so. But again, kudos to you. I love the conversation. I love the fact that, and Dana, when you get a chance, please make sure you go and check out the podcast because literally they're having dinner.
Yeah.
They're having dinner. And I love the way it just flowed, and it really just flowed naturally, as if though two powerhouse sisters were having a conversation about real life experiences. So kudos to you. We look forward, and we just look at it as a spinoff of what all of us are doing.
Yeah.
So to our listening audience, stay tuned because Jeanette is going to come back and share some amazing tips. During the third hour, it's always about branding your business brand, more so now than ever.
Yes.
How are you going to navigate branding your business in this now virtual environment. When, yes, you may have been popping on Facebook, doing some things and shouting out some people, showing one or two pieces here. But as I heard Diva J say, you're working multiple programs behind the scenes to make it all look seamless.
Yep.
Kudos.
Takes a team.
So Dana, welcome to the show. You are not a stranger to Let's Talk Business with SJC. You've been here since we started the Zoom process. And first of all, shout out to our station, In Touch News, who are doing the same thing as we are trying to navigate through this show. Dana, I love the way your platform is set up. You're already giving us an introduction to Zoom. We can look at you, and we're doing what's called the gallery screen. So you see 4 people or four images, and we can look at you and see, okay, there's your computer. You are a computer expert, trainer. I'll let you define your role because you actually this time,
Bring me
you're
the phone.
our guest.
Bring me the phone.
So Dana Jenkins, tell us a little bit about you and your company, D&K Consulting.
Absolutely. Again, thanks so much for having me. We are what I like to refer to as one of the best kept secrets in the Tampa Bay area. We've been in business for just over 20 years. D&K Consulting is a software consulting company. So what we do is we help businesses of all shapes and sizes get the most out of their software investment.
JJ, mommy's on a meeting, okay?
That's saying a mouthful.
So come right here.
Today,
Come right here.
I don't know.
One,
I would like to think you're in
2,
great demand.
You're gonna get. I'm gonna send you the timeout. Come right here. Get
So
down.
We're helping
And come
people
right here.
not
Stop
only
right there.
navigate
Don't
the
come over
waters or tread the waters here
Sit
in
down.
this virtual
Don't come over there.
world,
Stay
as
right
you
there.
put it a little earlier, but we're also helping them to
Stay.
learn a bit about some of these new platforms, like
You wanna go to timeout?
the platform that we're using right now, Zoom. It's very popular, and believe it or not, the students throughout our county, as well as all over the country, they're all using Zoom to stay connected with their teachers.
You tossed that term out there, Zoom, and I know we've used it
Back in mommy's room.
from the beginning of the show. We started using it a couple of months ago. Here's what I've learned about Zoom and working from home. Your spouse might come across the screen. Your pet may come across the screen. And I see this beautiful baby. Jeanette, you may as well introduce him.
All right. Well, you're asking for it. Come on over.
No, absolutely. I mean, we're working from home. This is what happens.
This is reality.
Would you all look at this beauty?
Look, JJ, say hi.
Hey, darling.
So this is my son. He's 2 years old. He will probably have his own channel soon. Who knows? He's been on so many Zoom calls, so we'll see.
I think that's precious, and that's the beautiful part about the fact that we're making these adjustments. I've seen on national television where the moms are trying to be as professional as possible, and the kids come in there demanding whatever that item is that they want, and they're trying to use the fingers.
Right,
It's just a real thing, and I think it's great that we're inviting people in our homes, and they're inviting us into their homes. And look, this is what goes on. But back to you, Dana. You use that term Zoom. So for the person that doesn't have a clue, maybe they were under a shell. But what is Zoom exactly?
Great question. Zoom is a communication platform. So its primary purpose is online meeting. But as we've noticed, and Jeanette just shared it with us, it's a great platform to keep in touch with your family members who may not necessarily be able to either be in the same room with you, or they could be clear across country.
Absolutely. And having said that, and I'm from a super, super large family. My immediate family, my parents had 8 siblings. And we've been conference calling for quite a while now. We are every week checking in with everyone and to make sure that we're all okay. And so I've been challenging them all to try Zoom.
JJ,
I don't
in
think there's
the
anyone
room
in my
now.
immediate family. Let's see. Everybody is 50 and over.
Come right here.
Yeah.
Is it?
Half are okay with it. The other half was, no, not going to happen.
Great. That was
Go
kind
I
of,
ahead.
think we
Lay
just
down,
crossed
something
that
next time.
threshold
Go.
to where last week most agreed that they would Zoom. And this is something that we can talk about. So you're telling us about it. It's video
Go in the
conferencing,
room.
and you have the beauty of using all of your devices, and so you have
In the
quick
room.
access to it. I got an email
Go.
yesterday that Zoom is saying there's an even quicker way in order to connect to Zoom. So I didn't want to try anything before this show.
Right.
So we'll play with that. We'll play with that option after the show. What did you say?
yeah, definitely.
Okay. So that takes us to Zoom. So tell us a little bit about this whole setup and how four of us are able to see each other and how we are streaming this on Zoom and on Facebook using our devices.
Absolutely. Great question. What you do in essence is you log in. Think of it just like a conference room that someone has invited you to attend in a meeting. You walk into the conference room, you want to have the same etiquette or the same behavior, professional behavior that you would if you were meeting with someone in person. The benefit is that you could do it with your bunny slippers.
Oh, that's too cute. Or you can do it with your kid next to you.
That's right. That's right. Comforts of home. That's exactly right. So you log in. If you are the host, you sign in, and that way you can invite other people, and then they can join in the conversation with you.
Well, I'm going to shoot to Jeanette for this because Jeanette had us on a Zoom. Now, Jeanette,
Yes.
did you also do Zoom, Facebook Live, and tell us a little bit about what you did?
No, so Zoom was simply the gateway I used for the conversation, but I use a couple of different programs to restream simultaneously to both to both Facebook and YouTube. So Zoom was simply used as a frame in one of my encoding programs that I use to build the other graphics around the frame and then to stream it. So again, it's hard to explain so that it makes sense. But let's just say that I was using an entirely different platform, and Zoom just allowed for me to have the interaction with the guests, but it wasn't what I used to stream to the Facebook and YouTube. And I had some glitches myself. You know, my broadcast yesterday didn't stream on YouTube because I deleted the stream. So there's such a big learning curve, even for those of us who know what we're doing. There's just so much, but what Zoom does offer that I think is great is that really easy to stream, function. You don't have to do it. What we did is what professional production companies do. So I certainly wouldn't dare ask anyone to hold themselves to that bar of production within Zoom. But Zoom itself, what it was able to do with screen share and streaming, it's still just as good. And I've been doing that for my church now for the past couple of months.
Well, here's a perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
Those who are new to this, the novice, then you call the experts. You call Diva J at Dash.
Yep.
You call Dana at TNK. And that's really the premise behind our show, Let's Talk Business, is to make sure that we are having a conversation with individuals about a particular topic that's happening, hot topics. We usually try to bring awareness to what's happening in our community. Spend a lot of time talking about businesses. For over a year, Diva J has been teaching individuals how to brand their business. She's an expert, but yet we've been fortunate enough to bring on numerous experts in the field as well to make sure that we're covering all of those entities. But back to you, Dana. So you've gotten us up to Zoom. So we're doing video conferencing, but I'm looking at your back room looks like a graphic design, a picture versus we're live. And for sure, if you look at the four square, that's Daryl Johnson, and that's In Touch News.
Absolutely. So when you're in a video conference call or a meeting, the nice thing is, it's some of the platforms, of course, Zoom is just one of them, but the likes of WebEx or GoToWebinar or even Facebook Workforce, I think is what it's called now.
Yeah, that's the newest one.
Have their own capabilities of allowing you to either A, change your background, B, maybe blur your background. Skype does that very, very nicely. So that if you happen to be meeting in your kitchen, like I have been doing for the past 2 months, you don't necessarily know that I'm in my kitchen. So this is called a virtual background. So the neat thing I think about the virtual background is the following, and then Diva J, you probably have used the virtual background on a number of occasions. It's appropriate when it's appropriate.
Yes.
So depending on who I might be speaking to, I might change my background, and you can do it on the fly. And actually,
oh my goodness, look at that!
Right in the middle of a conversation. I'm also a member of Toastmasters group. Sherryl, of course, knows all about that because she's also a member of the Talk of 5508 Toastmasters. So if I'm in a Toastmasters meeting, I might change my background to reflect that particular agenda. Now, I made this for Sherryl, so I'm waiting patiently to help her change her background.
Yes.
Look at that! Look at that! Well, and so, I love that. But you're saying, we're watching you. I mean, you're doing it as you're speaking. We don't even see you navigating your keyboard. And so, is this on the, let's see, the taskbar on a Zoom
Yes.
video call?
Yes.
Where can we find that feature?
When you are logged into your Zoom profile, and remember that they have both a free plan as well as a paid subscription. But when you're logged in, one of the options is to manipulate your video settings, and then literally there's an option called virtual background. So
that's probably the pay. That's probably the pay. I think that's why I had to switch from free to business.
That's exactly right. And I think, if I remember correctly, Sherryl, with yours, we talked a little bit about it. One of the things that you'll probably notice is that you have to have a certain level of video card in your device or your...
Yes.
Yeah. So if it's i5 or earlier, let's give it a timeline here. So if we're talking about a PC or a laptop, if we're talking about one that we use or more, you may have a little difficulty with the virtual background unless you're using green screen. And a green screen basically is just a solid color backdrop. And again, but it is highly recommended that it's green. But I've run into lots of productions who just use like a black curtain, something that's solid. But white does not work for you. And if you're wearing green, it won't work really well for you if you actually use a green screen either.
Diva and I just had this conversation, and I can see that my screen is frozen, but I'll continue talking. Look, just this morning, Diva J and I had a conversation about a green screen, and I remember about a year ago, we were doing a test of the green screen, and just so happened that day, I wore a melon green suit. And at the beginning of our little segment, it was beautiful. You could see the logo, the image we had in the background, and all of a sudden that blurriness just started to... It was like Pac-Man came on the screen and just ate me alive.
The green screen can be tricky. It serves its purpose in production environments. It's great because you can superimpose anything and be anywhere in the world. And literally, again, just sit in your kitchen. So it's a very nice tool. But the virtual background is very powerful. It can
Before
be
Before we throw it back to Diva J, one of the things, she can talk more about the production and the screens as well, because you do all of the structural stuff, and Jeanette is helping businesses pull it all together so it just looks like, as we talked about earlier, this is like a $5,000 job in pulling all of these features and elements and programs together. But before we throw it back to Diva J, I saw a beautiful, and you let me know, Dana, it was a beach scene, an ocean scene, and the water, as if the guy wasn't a picture. It was just the movement of, look at you.
Oh.
Yeah.
It wasn't that one, but yes, the water was, and his waves were actually coming directly behind his back. have stored up?
Definite. So with your Zoom account, free or otherwise, you will typically get just a few videos and pictures that you can use as virtual backgrounds, but you can also add your own. So the few that you notice that I use, for example, those with my company logo or maybe the positive thinking, I kind of put those
Right.
together myself. But again, you can definitely get a bunch of images wherever your particular image happens to be. Stock photos, or you can create your own. And I create my own quite often.
I love that. I just love the fact that you can just touch and it's there. And so before we leave, you'll have to show us exactly where that option is. Diva Jane.
So I think that those are all great and important keys to using Zoom. I'm interested to hear your perspective, and I think a lot of groups need to hear this. People want to do these Zoom meetings where there's a lot of people, right? So, for example, my dad will be getting ordained to be a pastor in a couple weeks. And so they want to do a virtual pastor's ordination ceremony. And so, Dana, I want you to speak to some of the protocols when you're doing an event with well over 10, 15, 20, 100 people. What are some of those things you need to remind your participants to do? And what are some of the things that the host of that may want to remember?
That is an excellent question. So to your point, one of the things that you always want to remember is the following. It's always important to consider that sharing a screen, I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can see this one. One of the trainings that I've been running, especially with the Zoom platform and some of the others, the meeting platform, is the importance of meeting etiquette. And I just refer to it as virtual meeting etiquette. As we alluded to a little earlier, it's always important to remember, just as you were meeting with someone in person, you want to remember a few things. So the tips that I often share for both hosts as well as participants is this. There are some etiquette protocols, some things that you want to keep in mind, and I think it will speak to your parents' event as well. Try to avoid embarrassing mistakes, like if you're on camera, remember that you're on camera. Even if you're using a phone, a device, don't take it close with it. You don't want people to necessarily see that you're moving around. Stay a little stationary. Try not to. I don't know if any of you have seen this, but there's a on YouTube of someone in a Zoom meeting, and she needed to go to the restroom, and she took her Zoom meeting, her phone, into the restroom with her. Make sure that you know you are on live, so make sure that you mute your mic or turn off your video where appropriate. Make sure, of course, that you test out the tech. Diva mentioned her experience last night. All of these meetings can be, because you're virtual, and anything could happen. So be prepared, but make sure that you check your audio, your video before you get started, and the software that you're using to make sure that you are indeed presenting the way that you want. Communicate with your host. It's very important that you remember. Again, just if you were meeting with someone, that you acknowledge that there is a host to a meeting. So don't just kind of Zoom platform, kick up video at once, even though it trains you to utilize some of the communication tools like raising, there's an option for that, or just utilizing the chat to ask a question or maybe even suggest something to a host. And last but not least, and it should be at the top of the list, always be professional. Get dressed. Don't meet from your bed. I see lots of people online. I've had a couple of webinars, Steph, and there were 80 people on created things on their video. In all actuality, if you get and you feel like you're going to work, you're going to act
Oh my gosh, those are amazing points. And to our Facebook family, we certainly hope those of you that are able to, I'm doing live on my device, on my laptop Facebook, live on my cellular device. So for those of you that are just seeing me, what I was trying to do was switch you over or turn my phone so you could also see. You can go to News and you can see together. I saw getting a little closer, so I'm going to screen back so that you all can see all of it. But if you're on mine, you should be able to catch all of us together. So I just popped back on to let you know that I had to reverse my device because I wanted you all to see the actual screen and see all of us as we do this. And so I'll put it back to that screen, and hopefully it'll be a little clearer for you. Zoom etiquette. That is so apropos. And having seen so many different brought out, and you're right, I probably saw the one that you saw, or the gentleman standing up to go get his coffee, and he was dressed from top. First of all, if it's business, and even if it's not business, just think about your surroundings. If we're in your home, but you don't want us to be in your home, put up one of those beautiful images. Or your picture. There's another. I think the very first one that I did, and I set my Zoom to where it's just automatic now. If depending upon where I am, and if I need to flip it, I can. So I appreciate this design that you created just for Let's Talk Business with SJC, and to have both of you on sharing such important information. So Zoom etiquette, if we take nothing else away from this show today, get dressed, be professional, and you'll do okay. You'll do okay. Diva J, what would you add to Zoom etiquette?
So there's two things that I would add. I think, and I hope it's not, and if it is, that's great. Around communication, I manage the Zoom interaction, as I mentioned, for my church on Wednesdays for Bible study, Sundays for Sunday school. And I have now gotten the congregation to realize, we all say amen in church. We all want to, just acknowledge what's going on. And I've now had them using the comment box in Zoom to do just that. So instead of unmuting, which is another thing, mute your microphone is another important thing. If you're not talking, even if your environment is quiet, it's still important to mute your microphone because there's ambient sound. It could be a siren that goes past your window that Zoom will pick up. And so I first encourage everyone to mute their microphone when they're not speaking. And then secondly, using the comment box, if there's just something you want to just say, yeah, by the way, X, Y, and Z, or if you have a question, using the comment box to ask questions, it just helps with not disrupting the stream of the broadcast. Because every time a person speaks or sound is picked up on a microphone in the host view, it goes to that person. So you could be at your desk typing something else, but this type sound will pick up and everyone's going to see you typing, and you will be typing over the host that's trying to present. So muting your microphone is a big one. If you're the host of a Zoom meeting, you have the capability to mute other people's microphones. So in some meetings, I even get to a point, if it's a lot of people, where I say, I am muting everyone's microphone as the host of the Zoom call, and I will unmute you if I see your finger, and once the host has acknowledged, it's your time to speak. So the person controlling the Zoom has a lot of power, but you also have to make sure that your participants are all on one accord so that they don't try to go around or unmute or disrupt the production.
Agreed.
I appreciate it. And Dana, if you could switch, do you have another screen coming after? And if so, hold tight. One of the things that Jeanette said, and that's important when you are the host. We do have that capability. But here's what I see now. There's an option in Zoom that allows you to have your guests come on even before you. And I was on a Zoom business conference just yesterday. And because the host allowed us to come on, you could not imagine the conversations. And we were trying to put comments in the chat saying, we can hear you. One person was just giving her kid the nth degree. And everybody was commenting, please, please. But if that person isn't there in front of the device, they can't see the comments. A, or B, they don't even have a clue. So I wanted to ask you, where should we be? And I don't know, maybe that's something that Dana can show us. So if you're able to come on before the host can come on and mute all of the instruments, where exactly will they find that button? And number two, where can they find the icon to know that they're chatting and chatting with whom? Dana?
Yes, excellent point here. I'm going to share another quick little screen with you. Let me know if you can see it.
Yes.
This is my browser. So this is you can log into Zoom both on a desktop app, and you can also log into your Zoom account in a browser in your favorite Chrome or Internet Explorer or Edge, if that's your favorite. But in this particular environment, what I did was I basically just created a quick little meeting. Let's pretend that I'm trying to schedule a meeting. One of the things that you'll notice, if you'll scroll through after you decide on what your meeting topic happens to be and when and where, you can do a couple of different things that I highly recommend, and Diva would probably agree with this. With the video for the meeting, I often go ahead and set my video to be off for any participants as they join, as well as the host. That way you are in better control as to what happens when you first come into view. And the same thing hosts do for your audio. Last but not least, in that meeting option that you just mentioned, Sherryl, enable one to be able to join before the host. I will not turn that one on. I have control issues. So I happen to go ahead and sign up for whatever areas that I can control ahead of time. And then, of course, as Diva mentioned a few minutes ago, you can relax it once they're in. Once they're in, it's okay to turn on or off their audio and their video on their own. But to prevent any embarrassing moments, I definitely recommend that you either mute all of your participants on entry or definitely not turn on that enable host or join before the host. I have issues with that. What do you think, Diva?
I completely agree, and it's a little different. It depends on the client, right? I got to go back to the church because they want to be on an hour early, and I'm like, I'm not sitting there for an hour.
Oh, wow.
So sometimes I will allow people to join, but I also will enable a waiting room. So when I enable the waiting room, I can say, okay, I know that this is a pastor. I know that this is someone who needs access because they want to test out a couple things before we get started. And so enabling the waiting room, as you said, so I guess it's not enabling them to join, but enabling the waiting room allows me to give permission for certain people, even through my phone when I'm in the bed early in the morning, not ready to turn on my Zoom, I can still let them in so that way they can do what they need to do. So I completely agree. And I'll even say I've had an instance where someone's camera, before the meeting started, their camera was off, but the picture that they had some inappropriate content on it. So I was able to put that person into the waiting room so that no one else saw that picture. And I knew once the event got started, they would turn their cameras on. So once the event got started, I then allowed them to rejoin, and luckily their camera was on, so no one saw the inappropriate image. So it's definitely good to filter people as they come in, because honestly, you never know what you're gonna get.
You never know. I completely concur. The weight room, I think, was established primarily for security purposes. I'm sure a number of you have probably heard that Zoom quite a few instances, especially within the school, sometimes about people doing what is now tagged as I think they call it Zoom, or they were invited. And to your point, Diva, you never know what you might be exposed to. So being enable that weight room.
And we will join you back. For those of us on Facebook, we're just going to be very, very quiet. And in Touch News, we're going to take a commercial break at this moment. So we'll see you back in a couple of minutes.
What have you got planned for today? Come on, this way. Adventure can be found anywhere, but the best place to start is in the forest.
It's the most powerful magic there is.
Head outside to discover incredible animals.
Wow.
And beautiful plants that come together to create an unforgettable adventure. So grab your loved ones and explore a world of possibilities. Visit discovertheforest.org to find the closest forest or park to you. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
My teacher said that we should have a plan in case of an emergency. Do we have one?
First thing I'm going to do is grab a flashlight with dead batteries.
I'm going to start randomly throwing clothes in the bag. You two will be hiding in the closet and Dad won't be able to find you.
And that's when we both start crying.
Uncontrollably. Can you pass the cutlets?
Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do during an emergency. Who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Search Ready Kids at nyc.gov or call 311. Brought to you by the New York City Office of Emergency Management and the Ad Council. When it comes to reality radio, everyone is a star.
No, that's right.
On your smooth soul and R&B station on the World Wide Web.
Access granted.
In Touch Radio. By now, we're all aware of the dangers of COVID-19. Like others with existing health issues, cancer patients are at a high risk due to their compromised condition. If you are newly diagnosed with cancer, your care likely can't wait. Moffitt Cancer Center is the best place for your cancer concerns and to provide guidance to help you plan your next steps. We're here for you. Call 1-888-456-2839 or go to moffitt.org/here for you.
Okay, and we are back. So that was interesting. I'm looking at you guys. Now, Dana, that would have been a good place for us to put our little commercial up on the video Zoom so that people could see some of the tips that maybe you were referencing or see the logos from your companies. And so, because it's a learning phase for us, we'll probably do that next time. So our audience will be like, I see them, but they're not saying anything. And that's because we're on commercial break. So, thank you so much. And I teach so I can see a chat coming in from our programmer. Okay, make sure that your brand is relevant. Make sure that you are in the room. You guys have talked about the appropriate way to be in the room. But when we were doing right before the commercial break, let's see, Dana, it was your segment, Mind Your Mic and Video. Diva J gave us the perfect example of why before you just go on Zoom, don't just go on Zoom and walk away. Check to see what's on your phone. Check to see what's on your video. Check to see what others can see. So, perfect point, because that was something that you wanted to talk about, Dana, paying attention to your video.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I highly recommend that you consider for any meeting, not just make that your default for your profile, for any meeting that you might join or for anything that you you might elect to host, go ahead and set it up so that your mic is on mute when you start or when you enter the meeting room. I highly recommend that. The same thing with the video. That way, again, you don't lose control. You're always in control, and that'll help with minding it.
Spoken from the control master.
And I wanted to add something to that because some people like my video, they're wondering how it looks so clear. So if you're a person that wants to invest in kind of the quality of how your camera appears, if you could see my setup, you'd be like, whoa, I actually have lights. And if I can, I want to do a quick demo. When I don't have backlighting,
Please do.
this is what it really looks like. So lighting is important because when I have lighting, it changes the whole experience from the viewer's perspective. So one thing that I want to say is if you don't have something that you could put in your virtual backdrop, you want the lighting of your room to be behind the camera. So a great way to do that, if you have a window, is to set your computer or your phone or whatever, set it up so that the window is behind it. That's going to give you the best natural lighting. If you are really interested in kind of taking the whole setup of your studio source, this is just a corner of the living room that I've now staged. I can go into detail offline. You can contact me and I can give you some suggestions of lighting kits to purchase. I actually have, while my Mac laptop has a web camera built in, I've purchased an HD webcam that I connect to my laptop, which gives you the clarity of what you're looking at. And these are those secret little nuggets that you're looking at and you're like, how are they doing that? And you're driving yourself crazy trying to figure it out. But really, again, as it was before, it's so many different things working together. And it's not that you can't do it. It's just that you have to know what those things are. And it's important to talk to someone so that you don't get bamboozled and you're buying a $500 camera that you really don't need. So lighting, though, can really just instantly change the quality of your video as it presents to others.
Well, I love the way you gave us those points. So pay attention to where your window is, the importance of lighting, where it should be positioned so that we all look relatively nice. But I can see the difference just on our Zoom image. I can see my lighting, but now that I'm looking at all three of you, Dana's is just crisp. And I can see your colors seem to be more vibrant. And even though I can see everything, but I see kind of like a dullness on mine. And this is why you for a consultation on how to do a proper Zoom setup and the necessary equipment.
Absolutely. So, of course, you can definitely visit our website. That's where you can find all the information, -marketingllc.com. You can also send me an email. It's my first name, Jeanette, at -marketingllc.com. That's JEANETTE at -marketingllc.com. I will say right about now, email is the best way to communicate because oftentimes I'm on Zoom calls. So it's rare that I'm picking up my phone. So I certainly would suggest visiting our website, taking a look at who we are, what we do, what we've done, and then also sending us over an email. We'll get right back with you to do that complimentary consultation.
Oh, did you all hear that? Complimentary consultation. You heard it right here on Let's Talk Business with SJC. My co-host for the third hour of the day will give you a complimentary consultation.
Yes.
Make a note of that. Dana, for those that are looking at us and seeing how you prepared some nice screens for us, personalizing it for our show, for our business, how can they reach you?
Thanks so much. I am going to let me say this first. I'm going to call Jeanette shortly. Yeah, I definitely could use her services. I'll take advantage of that complimentary consultation readily. But if you're interested, if I can help in any way, shape, or form, either help your church group, small group, for example, learn how to use or how to navigate the Zoom platform, or any other software that you may need to invoke or put into the actual meeting to share PowerPoint or Word or do a quick little collaborative effort on any one document, please let me know. I'm here. I'm right here in Tampa Bay. My email address is D as in Dana, Jenkins as in George Jenkins of Publix, at DK, that's D as in Dana, K as in Kentucky, consulting.net. I'm with Diva. It's kind of hard to get me on the phone, but my phone number is behind me here in my backdrop, and it's also on our website, dkconsulting.net. But I am here to serve. I'm ready to go if you are.
That is awesome, and that's what this is all about. And we will again announce your contact information. All the more reasons for us to have that logo back there so that they can see it. If they come back to the screen, all we have to do is just take it down. The good news, and one of the things that we've done from the beginning of the show, we will always do a thank you post. And in our thank you post, we make sure that your contact information is there. So the same will happen today. So we'll make sure that that's there. Live links so that they can go right to you or send that email to you on your Facebook page. I love the fact that we're just helping so many people, even those that are not on our Facebook page right now. They're able to come back and look at this video during their leisure and hear these great points that you all are sharing with us. And so, Dana, we talked about minding your microphone. Another thing, and this is something that we've been doing, and Jeanette kind of alluded to it a moment ago, the importance of testing your technology. Do you have a slide for that, or is that something you're going to talk about, Dana?
We can definitely go into greater detail for that next week, only because it will take a little while.
Okay.
But within any of these platforms, especially here in Zoom, you always have the ability to test the audio before you even start your meeting, which is great. I think all of the companies or all the publications that come up with these particular software platforms have done a great job of having that mindset to actually let someone test their audio before they get underway. So you'll be prompted. Try not to ignore it. Go ahead and actually test it. So you want to test to make sure that you can hear yourself well, and you want to test to make sure that you are also being heard. So test your mic as well as your speakers.
Great tips from the experts. And so we are fortunate that you're going to come back on and do part 2. And if we want to elaborate on that a little bit further, we can. Was there another screen that you wanted to show us, Dana? If not, if so, we'll go to that. If not going to go back to the if we want to